Hello viewers, yes, this is Ranjana ma'am and you are watching, yes, yours as well as my channel. And I always say the thumbnail says it all. You all have been asking me for a long time for this prose piece, my ICSE students, The Girl Who Can. So The Girl Who Can is really a wonderful story. So the background or the backdrop of this story is African society, colonial, post-colonial Africa, and how women, they have to struggle to find their right place in society. It was that the women were always meant for childbearing, and so the narrator, who was born with very thin legs, so she becomes a butt of criticism, especially for her grandmother. So grandmother used to criticize that these legs are not strong enough, it won't support hips to bear children. So she had been hearing this, but how she how she rises from these petty things and proves her mettle that even girl with thin legs also, they can do something and make her life a successful one. So in the end, even her grandmother is impressed. So three characters. One is the narrator, 7-year-old girl. The other is her mother. She's a passive character, always being subdued by her dominant mother. So the grandmother is the head, and whatever she says, and she always tries to subdue the daughter. That means her daughter or the mother of the narrator. And the narrator is in a fix. She doesn't know what to do. If she wants to speak her mind, what is going on in her mind, and she speaks it out, then they will make fun of her. And if she keeps quiet also, there is a conflict within her. So she is sweet and innocent, but then she has an analytical mind. So the author is a feminist, and the author has used the social background of which type of society. It is a custom-ridden traditional society where women or girls are only meant for bearing children. And woman can be useful if she has a body like the others, similar to the others. So if she is born a little bit different, then she becomes the butt of ridicule. So the protagonist or the narrator's grandmother also is such a woman, or rather she is the representative of the women, typical women of the society. But finally the narrator proves her mettle, and she even makes her grandmother eat her words and makes her feel that no, we can also be useful. Girls also with thin legs can be a success in society. They are just not meant for bearing children. So now let's start with the story. What are we waiting for? But before I start, you know what's coming. If you have not subscribed to my channel up till now, please do, and don't forget to press the like button. The likes are coming very slowly. You need to encourage me. You all are asking me, ma'am, finish the class 10 syllabus, finish the class 12 syllabus. But you need to inspire me to do more. For this I need your likes, for this I need your subscriptions. Share it with your friends. Okay, so now let's start. So welcome back. And whenever I start a story, I always tell you, read about the author. So here I am, page 151. Turn to page 151. Those of you who are following my lecture with the books, please turn to page 151. This is how I teach my online students also, my tuition students. I tell them to read the book, because then you might get some short questions, and the answers you might find it here. So the author is Ama Ata Aido. So she comes from Ghana. She is a writer, playwright, and academic. Not only that, she held an important position in the Ministry of Education In The Girl Who Can, Aidu analyzes African women's struggle to find their rightful place in society. So I think even she must have struggled a lot to come to this height, being the education minister. Her stories raise issues of choice and conflict. So what is the story The Girl Who Can about? The Girl Who Can is the story of a girl who rises above the pressures of social criticism. Yeah, people criticizing what thin legs she has, but she rises above that and proves that what if I have thin legs, but they can also be useful. The story's protagonist is Ajowa, a little African girl who resides in a village in Ghana. So the setting is Ghana, with her mother and grandmother. So that all of them, they are females, three generations. This is Ajowa's struggle to find her rightful place in society despite her thin legs that she is constantly told are no good for supporting hips meant for childbearing. So that means in those days, African society thought of women as nothing other than instrument for bearing children. And so her thin legs are of no good. Ajowa's triumph or her success proves that women have greater role in society than merely being able to bear children. So women are just not machines for bearing children. God has created them for something else also. They need to understand their potentials and then go on the way towards success. And that is what a 7-year-old girl understands and does. She proves that what if I have thin legs, I can do wonders. Now let's start the story, The Girl Who Can. So it is said, if you think you can, you can. So always have this within you. They say that I was born in Hazoji, and it is a very big village in the central region of our country. So which is their country? Of our country, Ghana. And the village is not a small village, but a very big village, and it is in the central part of Ghana. They also say when all of Africa is not choking under a drought, Hazoji lies in a very fertile lowland in a district known for its good soil. So Hazoji is supposed to be quite a fertile place. Even when the rest of Africa, they are suffering under the drought conditions, but Hazoji is a fertile place, nothing of that sort. Maybe that is why anytime I don't finish eating my food, Nana says, "You Ajowa, you don't know what life is about. You don't know what problems there are in this life." So the grandmother would always tell when she refused to eat or she refused to complete her food, maybe a leftover, she doesn't finish her plate. So the grandmother says, you don't know. That means yes, whole of Africa, they might be reeling under drought conditions. So you don't know how difficult life is. As far as I could see, there was only one problem. But to her, she felt that there are no real problems in life, only one problem. And what is the problem? And it had nothing to do with what I knew Nana considered as problems. So Nana's problem, Nana's way of seeing problems or figuring out problems, and Ajowa's ways of finding out problems or searching for problems, they are different. So according to Ajowa, there is only one problem, whereas grandmother says there are a lot of problems. So what is Ajowa's problem? What does she think as problem? Or what mommy thinks of as the problem. Mommy is her mother, Ajowa's mother. She calls her mommy. Mommy is my mother. Nana is my mother's mother. That means her grandmother. And they say I'm 7 years old. So yeah, it is not that every year you cut a cake and celebrate your birthday and remember how old you are. So she has to depend on what the elders say regarding her age. So her mommy and her Nana, they tell that she's 7 years old and she's 7 years old. And my problem is that at this 7 years of age, there are things I can think in my head, but which maybe I do not have the proper language to speak them out. So she's an intelligent girl and she has thoughts in her mind but she feels I don't have the proper way, I don't know the proper way to express them. And that, I think, is a very serious problem. So this is her problem. There are thoughts going on in her mind, but she doesn't know how to express them properly. Because it is always difficult to decide two things. Whether to keep quiet and not say any of the things that come into my head, or say them and get laughed at. So why does she find it is difficult to decide whether she should keep quiet? Let me keep quiet, let not those thoughts which are in my mind, let not those thoughts come out. So this is one. Or to say the thoughts which are troubling my mind and become the object of ridicule. Let people laugh at me for what I am saying. Not that it is easy to get any grown-up to listen to you even when you decide to take the risk and say something serious to them. So yeah, it is difficult to find any elder who would be patiently listening to what you have to say. And you have something serious to tell them, but you don't find an elder in whom you can confide, who will be patiently listening to your thoughts. Take Nana. So for example, take Nana. First I have to struggle to catch her attention. Getting her attention is a difficult thing. She has to make an effort to get Nana's attention. Then I tell her something I had taken a long time to figure out. So something which has been running a riot in her mind. So she speaks that out to Nana, and what does Nana say? And then you know what always happens. So every time she says something, and what happens? She would once stop whatever she is doing. So suppose she is cleaning the room. So she would stop that. Mouth open, and stare at me for a very long time. So this is how she would react. And after that what? Then bending and turning her head slightly so that one ear comes down towards me, she will say in a voice, in that voice. Which voice? Ajoa, you say what? And after I have repeated, so she would ask her to repeat what she has said. Ajoa, you say what? So now Ajoa repeats what she has said. She would either still in that voice ask, never, never, but never to repeat that. So never, never, don't ever repeat what you have said. Or this is what she would say, or she would immediately burst out laughing. So either she would say, no, don't say it again, or she would just laugh. Laugh, not amused. She would ridicule her. She would laugh and laugh and laugh until tears ran down her cheeks. So she would laugh to the end of desperation. She would laugh till tears ran down her cheeks. She is not crying. Laughter has brought tears to her eyes. And she would stop whatever she is doing and wipe the tears with the hanging edges of her cloth. So she would wipe the tears with the cloth. And she would continue laughing. So she would wipe her tears and then continue laughing, not stopping so easily. Finally, when would she stop? Until she is completely tired. So until she is completely exhausted, she would go on laughing. So a laughter riot, you can say. But then as soon as another person comes by, just to make sure she doesn't forget whatever I had said, she would repeat it to her. Someone comes, maybe a neighbor. So she says, listen, listen what Ajoa has said. And then she would repeat it to that neighbor so that she doesn't forget it. And then of course there would be two old people laughing. So that neighbor or whatever, whoever that person is to whom she has told what Ajoa has said, and both of them would start laughing. So another laughter session. And screaming with tears running down their faces. First it was Nana, and then someone to whom Nana tells the story, that person. So two of them, they start laughing. Sometimes this show continues until there are 3, 4 or even more of such laughing and screaming tear-faced grown-ups. So grown-ups behaving in such an immature way. A small girl has poured out her heart or her mind to the grandmother, And grandmother keeps on adding, telling one person and then another, and in this way 5 to 6 grown-ups, they keep on laughing. I find something quite, and all that performance would continue, grown-ups laughing as if they are kids, going on laughing and laughing and laughing for whatever she had said. They are laughing at what? At what she had said. I find something quite confusing in all this. So poor girl, Ajua, 7-year-old girl, she's confused. What I have said that all of them are laughing so much. That is, no one ever explains to me why sometimes I shouldn't repeat some things I say. They don't explain to her why you shouldn't say these. But they just go on laughing, laughing, laughing. While at other times, some other things I say would not only be alright, but would be considered so funny, they would be repeated so many times for so many people's enjoyment. So this is the second one. All of them laughing. And otherwise, remember what grandmother would say, never, never, never. And then whenever someone would come and she would tell that Ajoa has said this, and then that elder person would also say, never say all these again. So the grown-ups, they all say the same thing. Whatever grandmother says, they are as if an echo of her. If she laughs, they also keep on laughing. But they don't explain why she shouldn't say something, or why, or in another case, what they find so funny that they go on laughing. You see how neither way of hearing me out can encourage me to express my thoughts too often. See, so she feels that this is not an encouragement to speak out my mind. Why? Because either the grandmother says never say it again, or she keeps on laughing, and along with her the whole society or maybe the whole neighborhood starts laughing one by one, one by one. So poor girl, she's afraid to express her feelings. Like all this business to do with my legs. This is her biggest problem, poor girl. I have always wanted to tell them not to worry. They are worried about her legs, but she's not. And she wants to tell them, please don't worry about my legs. I mean Nana and my mother. So when she says, I've always told them not to worry, wanted to tell them. She had always wanted to tell them, don't worry. Who are these them? Nana and Mommy. That it did not have to be an issue for my two favorite people to fight over. So regarding this, the mother and the grandmother would have fights. And she wanted to assure both of them that this is not a big deal. Don't fight. Two of you are my favorites, so don't fight regarding this. But I didn't want either to be told not to repeat that or to be considered so funny that anyone would laugh at me until they cried. But she didn't also want to be either the object of ridicule, all of them laughing, or she didn't want to hear that word, never repeat it again. So these are deterrents, stopping her from expressing her thoughts or mind, whatever is in her mind. After all, they were my legs. Yes, they are mine. You have nothing to do with it. When I think back on it now, those two, who are those two? Nana and my mother must have been discussing my legs from the day I was born. So since she was born, they must have been discussing her legs, so thin legs, what will she do when she grows up? They won't be fit for bearing children, supporting hips. What I'm sure of is that when I came out of the land of sweet, soft silence into the world of noise and comprehension, the first topic I met was my legs. So she came from the other world, the world of God. When she came into this world, the world of noise and understanding, so what topic did she hear first? It was related to her legs. That discussion was repeated very regularly. So how did the discussion start? Nana, you know, Kaya, I thank my God that your very first child is female. But Kaya, I'm not sure about her legs. So she's happy that the firstborn of her daughter's name is Kaya, and the firstborn of Kaya is a girl, so she's happy with that. But she's not happy of the fact that she has very thin legs. And Nana would shake her head. Mommy, mother, why are you always complaining about Ajoa's legs? If you ask me, so the mother doesn't like this. The grandmother always picking on Ajoa's legs, so she expresses her disapproval. If you ask me, so what does Nana say? They are too thin and I'm not asking you. Just see the dominance. I'm not asking you, and I must say the legs of Ajoa are too thin. Nana has many voices. There is a special one she uses to shut up everyone. So here also when she says, I'm not asking you, she wants the mother to shut up. And so this is a different voice, a commanding voice. Some people have no legs at all. My mother would try again with her small courage. Mother is not a very courageous woman, especially in front of the grandmother. So she would try to argue in this way that at least she has legs, even if they are thin. There are some people without legs. So we should be thankful that she is born with legs. But Ajoa has legs, Nana would insist, except that they are too thin. So Ajoa is not born without legs. She has legs, but they are too thin. And also too long for a woman. So Ajoa not only has thin legs, but they are too long. That means she must be a tall girl. Kaya, listen. Once in a while, but only once in a long while, somebody decides. Nature, a child's spirit mother. An accident happens and somebody gets born without arms or legs or both sets of limbs. And then let me touch wood. It is a sad business. And you know, such things are not for talking about every day. So these people being born without one limb or the other, not having any legs at all, as the mother said, or born without arms, born without one part of the body missing. So these are not a day-to-day affair. It happens occasionally. But if any female child decides to come into this world with legs, then they might be as well be legs. That means if a female child decides to come into the world, she should have proper legs, as if it is in her hands to see that I am being born with proper legs or not. What rubbish. What kind of legs? And always at that point I knew from her voice that my mother was weeping inside. So Ajoa would listen to her mother's voice and realize that the mother from within, she was weeping, she was crying. Nana never heard such inside weeping. Oh, Nana was a practical woman, not an emotional woman at all. So these things she would completely ignore, or they didn't cross her mind that her daughter was feeling sad and she shouldn't be every time harping on the same topic. Not that it would have stopped Nana even if she had heard it. Yeah, this is it. Nana is a strong and hard woman, not much sentimental feelings. So even if she had heard mother weeping, she wouldn't have stopped. She would have continued. Which always surprised me, because almost everything else apart from my legs. So just leave the topic of the legs. Otherwise, according to Ajoa, Nana is such a good grown-up. So only regarding the topic of Ajoa's legs, she is so adamant and she keeps on saying they are thin and long, too thin for a woman. But otherwise, she finds Nana quite a good woman, quite a nice person. In any case, what do I know about good grown-ups and bad grown-ups? And then she says maybe she loves Nana and that is why she considers her to be a good grown-up. But she says, I don't know much about who are called good grown-ups and who are called bad grown-ups. How could Nana be a good grown-up when she carried on so about my legs, and then this question troubles her? I am saying Nana is a good grown-up, but how much do I know about good grown-ups? If she is really a good grown-up, she shouldn't be always talking about my legs. All I want to say is that I really liked Nana except for that. So what does she mean? That normally Nana is a nice person. Other than the time when she talks about Ajoa's legs, then she doesn't like Nana. But otherwise she seems to be quite an acceptable person, good person. Nana, as I keep saying, if any woman decides to come into this world with all of her two legs, then she should select legs that have meat on them, with good calves, because you are sure such legs would support solid hips. So why do the African people want the legs of the females to be not thin but fat, because they would support the hips, and which would in turn help childbearing. Because you are sure such legs would support solid hips, and a woman must have solid hips to be able to have children. So this is the logic. Why should women not have thin legs? Because that would make her incapable of bearing children. Because thin legs wouldn't support hips, solid hips to bear children. Oh mother, that's how my mother would answer, very, very quietly. Means, oh mother, please stop this discussion. She would want to say this, and the discussion would end, or they would move on to something else. So when mommy or Kaya would say, oh mother, means, oh mother, now let's change the topic, or let's talk on something else, or let's stop, then only it would stop or divert to something else. Sometimes Nana would pull in something about my father. So maybe the father is dead, or the father must have deserted these two. So Nana would make a dig at him. How, looking at such a man, we have to be humble and admit that after all, God's children are many. So yeah, quite in a contemptuous manner, looking at such a man, that means her father. We have to be humble and admit that after all, God's children are many, means they are of different types, and this is one type. How, after one's only daughter had insisted on marrying a man like that, you still have to thank your God that the biggest problem you got later was having a granddaughter with spindly legs that are too long for a woman and too thin to be of any use. So yes, you are my only daughter, and since you had insisted on marrying a man like that, means she is not happy with her son-in-law. So since you had insisted, I had agreed to this. So this was the biggest problem, and the later problem was that you gave me a granddaughter with very thin and long legs, spindly legs, thin and long, like that of a spindle, which is useless. So to Nana, thin legs are useless. Not only Nana, she is representative of the society where she is born. The way she always added that bit about my father under her breath, she probably thought I didn't hear it. But I always heard it. So she would talk about the father in a bated breath, means in a soft voice, so that because she wouldn't want Ajoa to hear, but Ajoa would hear it. Plus, that is what always shut my mother up for good. Yeah, and whenever she would refer to Ajoa's father, the mother would not argue anymore, she would shut up. Why? Because she would realize, yes, I have made a blunder in marrying this man, and mother is not wrong when she talks to me about him in this way. So she would accept defeat and become silent. So that even I had not actually heard the words. Once my mother looked like even her little courage was finished. So whatever courage she had while arguing with the grandmother, but the moment the father's topic was brought in, all the courage of the mother would flush out, and she would become completely silent. I could always guess what Nana had added to the argument. Legs that have meat on them with good calves do support solid hips to be able to have children. So I wish that one day I would see for myself the legs of any woman who had children. So she felt that I should go and see the legs of someone who has already given birth to children. But in our village that is not easy. Why is that not easy in their village? The older women wear long wraparounds, so that is a type of wrap-on. So they don't expose their legs. So how can she go and see the leg of someone who has already given birth to children? Perhaps if they let me go bathe in the river in the evening, I could have checked. So then she feels that if I am allowed to go to bathe in the river, then while the women are bathing, I could have a look at their legs. But I never had the chance. It took a lot of begging just to get my mother and Nana to let me go splash around in the shallow end of the river with my friends who were other little girls like me. So she got permission from Nana and grandmother after a lot of begging, after a lot of pleadings, please Nana, let me go. So she would be allowed to go with children of her age. So in that case, she never saw any woman with woman's leg who had already given birth to children. For proper baths, we used the small bathhouse behind our hut. So behind their hut, there was a bathhouse and they would go and have bath there. Therefore, the only naked female legs I have ever really seen are those of little girls like me. So, she has seen only the legs of little girls who are of her age, or older girls in the school, and those of my mother and Nana. So, married women's legs, Nana and mother. 2 pairs of legs which must surely belong to the approved kind. So, Nana's legs must have been past the approval, and Mommy's also, because they have both given birth to children. So, they are the ones who have legs that support hips, which are needed in giving birth to children. Because Nana gave birth to my mother and my mother gave birth to me, so they must be the ideal pair of legs. In my eyes, all my friends have got good legs that look like legs. But whether the legs have got meat on them to support the kind of hips that I don't know. How will she know? She has seen her friends' legs, they are more fleshy than hers. Her legs are very thin. So they have more meat on their calves. But whether they will be able to give birth to children or not, that only time can tell. But not at this stage. According to the older boys and girls, the distance between our little village and the small town is about 5 kilometers. So how far is the small town from their village? 5 kilometers. I don't know what 5 kilometers means. Yeah, she's too small to understand what is 5 kilometers. And that also living in a village. Where children in the city are more precautious. They always complain about how long it is to walk to school and back. That means their school is in the town. And the older boys and girls, they have to walk to the town, attend the school and then come back. So they complain it is a long walk. But to me, we live in our village and walking those kilometers didn't matter. School is nice. So she enjoyed walking and coming back. School is another thing Nana and my mother discussed often and appear to have different ideas about. Yeah, regarding school also there would be an argument. While the mother would be supporting Ajoa's going to school, the Nana would not. Nana thought it would be a waste of time. What's the use of sending her to school? I never understood what she meant. My mother seemed to know and disagree, but the mother, she did not agree with the grandmother regarding the girl sitting at home. She wanted that the girl should go and attend school. Ajoa should go and attend school. She kept telling Nana that she, that is my mother, felt she was locked into some kind of darkness because she didn't go to school. So Nana had not allowed her own daughter to go to school, and now she feels suffocated. She feels in the dark. She feels isolated. I'm not educated. And she didn't want that same thing to happen to her daughter. So that if I, her daughter, could learn to write and read my name and a little besides, perhaps to be able to calculate some things on paper, that would be good. I could always marry later and maybe. So why did the mother want that the girl should go to school? That means the mother was illiterate and she wanted her daughter at least to learn to read and write and do some mathematics, some calculation, addition, subtraction. And married, she can always get married after that. And then maybe she would be able to bear children in the course of time when she grows up. Nana would just laugh. Maybe with legs like hers, she might as well go to school. So what does she mean by that? Yeah, since there are less chances of her getting married, okay, let her go to school. Because she has such thin legs that no one might want to marry her. So yes, maybe the best thing is for her to go to school. Running with our classmates on our small sports field and winning first place each time never seemed to me to be anything about which to tell anyone at home. So whenever there were races, sports in the school and running races, she would always be the topper. She would always be the first one. But she didn't find this one to be a great deal. Nothing, no big deal. And she never told her mother or grandmother that, see, I have topped in the school sports running race. This time it was different. Why was it different? I don't know how the teachers decided to let me run for the junior section of our school in the district games. This is not confined to school, this is the district games. And the teachers have thought her fit to represent the district games in the junior level. What an achievement! So now she has to leave school and go there, so she has to tell her family people about it. And it is a matter of great pride. But they did. So they did means the teachers did. They decided that Ajua should represent the school in the junior section. When I went home to tell my mother and Nana, they had not believed it at first. They found it incredible. Ajua with her thin legs, that she should be the representative of the school in the district games. So Nana had taken it upon herself to go and ask into it properly. So Nana said, okay, I'll go to school and check it if what she's saying is the truth. She came home to tell my mother that it was really true. So she comes and says, Kaya, what Ajua has said is true. She has been selected for the games to represent the school in the district games. I was one of my school's runners. So she was one of the representatives in the races. Is that so? Exclaimed my mother. I know her. Her mouth moved as though she was going to tell Nana that after all there was a secret about me she couldn't be expected to share with anyone. So the way the mother says, is that so? So Ajua knows mother very well. So the way she told Nana this one, as if she had another secret and she did regarding Ajua, this is one secret thing which has happened. Ajua had kept this a secret, that she had always stopped in the school games. And so the mother also makes as if a secret she knows about Ajua and no one else knows. But then Nana herself looked so pleased. Out of surprise, my mother shut her mouth up. Why? She doesn't want to enter into an argument. This is a happy occasion for both of them. Nana is also impressed that my granddaughter with thin legs and she is representing her school in the district games. In any case, since the first time they heard the news, I have often caught Nana staring at my legs with a strange look on her face. So many times she would see Nana is observing her thin legs. But when Ajua looked directly into Nana, Nana would just pretend as if she had not been looking. But still pretending like she was not looking. She would be observing the legs. How can these legs run such race to represent the school in the district? But when Ajua would look at the grandmother, she would pretend as if she's not looking, she's doing something else. Because this was a real surprise to her. All this week she had been washing my school uniform herself. Why? So that they would be spotlessly clean. That was a big surprise. And she didn't stop at that. She even went to Mr. Mensa's house and borrowed his charcoal pressing iron each time, came back home with it, and ironed and ironed and ironed the uniform until if I had been the uniform, I would have said aloud, I have had enough. So what a joke. So she, every day when she would go for the practice, Nana would make sure that Ajua goes to school in a spotlessly clean and ironed dress. So she would wash the dress and she would go on ironing. So Ajua says, if I had been the dress, I would have told, oh Nana, stop, I have had enough. Wearing my school uniform this week had been very nice. Yeah, from Monday to Saturday, each day Nana washes the dress and irons it, borrowing the charcoal iron from a neighbor. At the parade the first afternoon, it caught the rays of the sun and shone brighter than everybody else's uniform. So she had ironed the dress in such a way that when she was parading with the other participants, with the other competitors, so her dress shone more brightly than the others. I'm sure Nana saw that too and must have liked it. Yes, she has been coming into town with us every afternoon. So when Ajua would come to the town for the practice, Nana would be accompanying her to town every day. Each afternoon she has pulled one set of fresh old clothes from the big brass bowl to wear, and she would be also wearing a fresh cloth from her stock. And those old clothes are so stiffly starched, you can hear the cloth creak when she passes by. So the old clothes full of starch, so when she walked, you could hear the creaking sound. But she walks way behind us school children, so she doesn't go just behind them, much back. So if they are walking, she would be following from there. So she wouldn't be an embarrassment. So narrator wouldn't find her an embarrassment with her creaking clothes. Why? Because she would be way behind, so as not to cause any embarrassment to her granddaughter. As though she was on her way to some place. So she pretended that she was going to some place. She was not coming because of her granddaughter. She had some work and she was going to some other place. But from a distance she would be coming. Yes, I have won every race I ran in for my school, and I have won the cup for the best all-round junior athlete. So in that district meet, what happened? All the races in which Ajoa had participated, she was the first. She had topped in all the races, and for this she got that champion's trophy. Best all-round junior athlete. So she got prizes for each of the events, but finally, for bagging the most number of prizes, she was declared the champion, the best all-round junior athlete. Yes, Nana said that she didn't care if such things are not done. Yeah, outwardly she says, oh, if these things are not done also, it hardly matters. She would do it. You know what she did? She carried the gleaming cup on her back, like they do with babies and other very precious things. So how did she? She didn't allow Ajoa to carry it. Ajoa is such a thin, small girl. So she carried that big trophy on her back in the same way as mothers carry their child on their back, or you carry some precious things. And this time not taking the trouble to walk by herself. So this time she was not walking by herself far away from her granddaughter. This time she was side by side. Why? She is so proud. My granddaughter has bagged all the prizes, and this is the best all-round one. So this time she is not walking all by herself. She is walking beside the granddaughter, proud to be the grandmother of such a daughter who has very thin legs, but they are not useless. They are useful. When we arrived in our village, she entered our compound to show the cup to my mother before going to give it back to the headmaster. So this cup has to go back to the headmaster and kept for display in the school. So first she showed it to mommy or mother, and then she goes and returns it to the principal of the school. Oh, grown-ups are so strange. Nana is right now carrying me on her knee and crying softly. So Nana has become emotional. Why would she say that thin legs are of no use? Because in the heart of her heart she was worried about whether my granddaughter will be acceptable to the people in the society. But now that she has proved her mettle, the grandmother must be relieved in the heart of her hearts. All the pressure that had been within her, that must have disappeared, because she has realized that no, this girl can take care of herself. She can find a place in society. She can she can realize her own potential. Muttering that thin legs can also be useful. So finally she comes to the conclusion that these thin legs also can be useful. Thin legs also useful. That even though some legs don't have much meat on them to carry hips, they can run. Thin legs can run. Then who knows? Yes, thin legs can run, and she can become the champion athlete, and once she grows up, she might get a husband who would love her for her achievements, not because of her looks or her thin legs. So thin legs will give her, the thin legs have brought her victory. So the thin legs are not useless, they are useful. She has realized this in the tough way. Why? Because Ajoa has proved herself. So she had always said, no, why do you bother about it? It doesn't trouble me, so why are you all bothering? And she has proved it, that there is nothing to bother about my legs being thin. I don't know too much about such things, but that's how I was feeling and thinking all along. that surely one should be able to do other things with legs. So legs are not only for supporting hips to bear children. Legs are for other things also which you can do, and you must realize, you should be able to hunt it out. What other things legs can do? Because they, as long as have them, because they can support hips that make babies. Except that I was afraid of saying that sort of thing aloud. So this thought had been in her mind, but she was not comfortable saying it aloud. Why? Because she knew how her grandmother and the elders would react. Either she would say, never say this again, or she would go on laughing and tell her neighbors, and they would also laugh, and the laughter competition would continue. But because someone would have told me never, never, but never to repeat such words, or they would have laughed so much as what I had said, they would have cried. It's much better this way. So it's no need talking to express your thoughts, rather give them actions. Prove it through your acts that thin legs also can be useful. You don't need to talk about them. Do something which will prove that thin legs are also useful, and that is what she did. She ran these races and proved that thin legs can be of use. To have acted it out to show them, although I could not have planned it. No, she had not planned that she wanted to show. She loved running and she won the races, but there was no intention to show them that, see, my legs can do something. But then it proved, whatever, even if she didn't want to show it to them with a deliberate intention, but still, they realized, the grandmother realized, that thin legs also can be useful. As for my mother, she has been speechless as usual. So typical of the mother, she doesn't know how to react, so she becomes speechless. So this is the story, and what does it tell you? So what can you learn from this? That you should try and realize your own potential instead of crying over something which you lack. If you lack something, you lack something. Don't get bothered about it. Try and find out what you have and try to give it shape. Try to bring out your potential in other ways. She had thin legs and they said it's not fit for bearing children. But she ran races and proved herself that thin legs can be useful in other ways. And woman's place in the society is not just for bearing children but also for other things. And this is what Ajoa made clear to not only the grandmother or the mother, but to the neighborhood, but to the society. So through this, what message does the author try to convey? So author is making fun of this idea that women should have fleshy legs. They should have a lot of flesh on their calves. Why? Because these would help in having strong hips, able to bear children. And that is why she makes the narrator or the main protagonist of the story also disapprove this idea that my thin legs are not a problem to me, so why does it bother you? And despite her thin legs, she wins a district level competition. So this ridicules the prevalent idea that women's role is limited only to bearing children and remaining indoors. So it is also a freedom of choice. She gives shape to her own views and ideas and her own career. So what the grandmother and the mother could not do, she chooses that path. And she builds an identity for herself as an athlete. So she is optimistic and she is walking towards a bright future. Yeah, because this is just the beginning. This is the beginning of her triumph. And in the course of time, she will become one of the best athletes of the country. It is assumed. So her role, she has come out of the traditional role of a woman into a broader landscape. So this is what the story The Girl Who Can is about, and I think I have made it crystal clear to you. So let me know your comments, post them in the comment section, and wait till I come up with something else for you in my next video. Bye for the time being, and